So ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. What are you saying about yourself when no one else is listening? Because your words are not just sounds bouncing off the walls, they are seeds. And the harvest you're living in today was planted by the words you spoke yesterday. See, the world doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you believe. And how do we know what you believe? Listen to what comes out of your mouth. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. Not in the power of your boss, not in the power of your bank account, not even in the power of your past. Your words are not passive expressions. They are active forces that shape the fabric of your reality. Every sentence you speak is a blueprint that your life begins to build around. When you speak, you are not simply describing the world. You are defining it, crafting it, and commanding it. Too often we underestimate the power that rests in our mouths. We think words are harmless, fleeting things, but in truth, they are like seeds planted in the soil of our future. And whether those seeds grow into fruit or weeds depends entirely on what we speak. Consider this. Every major shift in your life began with a declaration. Whether it was internal or out loud, your decisions, your commitments, your beliefs, they all found power through your words. Words have energy, they carry vibration, they give life to invisible ideas and make them tangible. When you say, I can't, your body, your behavior, and your environment will align to prove you right. And when you say, I will, that same force goes to work in the opposite direction. Your words are prophetic instruments that either call greatness forward or shut it down before it starts. It's no accident that the universe itself was spoken into existence. The act of speaking carries a divine energy, a creative force that was never meant to be wasted on worry or complaint. When you speak defeat, you teach your subconscious to sabotage your own success. You lower your expectations and shrink your possibilities. But when you speak victory, even in the face of adversity, you activate solutions, you stir courage, and you awaken favor. You're not just reacting to life, you're rewriting it in real time. We must learn to guard our language the way we guard our money. Words are currency. They can purchase peace or invite chaos. They can invest in the future or bankrupt your destiny. Saying, I'm tired, I'm broke, or I'll never get ahead is more than venting. It's authorizing those conditions to remain in your life. On the other hand, when you say, I'm rising, I'm equipped, I'm built for this, you begin to call resources, people, and opportunities into alignment with that truth. You're not faking it, you're framing it. People often wonder why their situation doesn't change, why they feel stuck year after year, despite their intentions. But intentions without declaration are powerless. You cannot think your way out of limitation if your mouth keeps reinforcing it. You cannot expect abundance to show up in an atmosphere of lack-filled language. Faith does not move on silent wishes. It moves on bold words. Your reality is always catching up to your vocabulary. If you wake up every morning and speak purpose, your day begins to reflect that intention. If you speak confusion, don't be surprised when everything feels out of control. This is not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about refusing to give them the final word. Your words are either rehearsing your pain or releasing your potential. They are either recycling defeat or declaring new beginning. And the more you speak in alignment with your purpose, the more powerfully you walk in it. It's time to become intentional about the language you use when speaking about yourself, your business, your relationships, and your future. What you say repeatedly becomes what you expect. What you expect becomes what you attract. This is why negativity compounds its self-fulfilling. But so is faith. The more you declare your value, the more you start to act like it. The more you speak vision, the more focused your actions become. Words not only influence others, they train your own mind how to think. Even science backs this up. Studies show that the words we use impact our emotional state, our problem-solving ability, and even our physical health. When you speak hope, you lower stress. When you speak gratitude, you increase resilience. The words we use shape the thoughts we think, and those thoughts shape our decisions, and those decisions shape our outcomes. This is not hype, It's truth. Your language creates a lens through which you see the world, and what you see determines what you believe is possible. There are people walking around today in prisons built by their own vocabulary. They're not in bondage because of circumstances. They're trapped by narratives they've rehearsed for years. They've talked themselves out of opportunities, out of relationships, out of breakthroughs, all because they didn't understand the power of their own voice. They didn't realize they were using their words like weapons against themselves. But the good news is that the same mouth that built the prison can build the escape route. Every word you speak either pulls your future towards you or pushes it away. You don't need a new job, a new city, or a new partner before you speak differently. You need a new vocabulary that aligns with where you're going, not where you've been. Speak like your life depends on it, because it does. Speak as if your words are writing the next chapter, because they are. Speak like your Creator intended, with authority, with vision, with power. You don't need permission to be blessed. That idea alone is enough to break chains. The world has conditioned us to believe that blessing, success, favor, or even peace must be granted to us by someone else. That we have to wait for a system, a supervisor, a gatekeeper, or a situation to finally turn in our favor before we can step into the fullness of what we were born to experience. But that's a lie, a deeply embedded generational lie. And until you reject that lie, you will keep living beneath your potential, waiting for a moment that may never come. Too many people spend their lives standing at the doorway of destiny, knocking, hoping someone will open the door, validate them, approve them, give them a platform, give them an opportunity. But the truth is, the door was never locked. The power to walk through it has been in your hands the entire time. The blessing doesn't start when someone notices you. The blessing doesn't begin when the bank approves you. The blessing doesn't depend on the applause of people who don't even understand your calling. The blessing begins the moment you decide to walk in the authority you already have. The world may overlook you, but that doesn't disqualify you. You can be underestimated by others and still be favored by God. In fact, that's usually how it works. Favor often finds the ones nobody else is looking for. Because blessing is not about popularity, it's about purpose. It's not tied to human recognition, it's tied to divine assignment. You are already equipped. You are already chosen. You are already enough. And when you understand that, you stop asking others for what has already been given to you. You don't need permission to think bigger. You don't need permission to start the business. You don't need permission to pursue healing. You don't need permission to be wealthy, to be joyful, to be whole. Nobody has to say it's your time. Nobody has to say you're good enough, because when you realize who you are, truly are, you give yourself the green light, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment. Alignment with purpose, alignment with truth, alignment with the creative power inside of you that has been waiting to be activated. The biggest battles people face are not external, they are internal. The battle between worth and unworthiness, the conflict between am I allowed and am I ready? But let me tell you this, the moment you stop waiting for external confirmation is the moment you start walking in internal conviction. And that's when everything changes. You don't need someone else to say go when your spirit is already saying now. Stop delaying your destiny trying to win the approval of people who couldn't carry your assignment if they tried. Some of you are still trying to earn what was freely given, still trying to perform for what is already yours. That's because you've been conditioned to think that success is only for the few, the privileged, the connected. But blessing is not limited by background. It's not hindered by your history. Blessing is a birthright. You were born with potential stamped on your soul, and when you speak life, when you step boldly, when you own your identity, the blessing isn't something you chase, it's something you activate. When you understand you don't need permission, you begin to reclaim every area where you once played small. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop dumbing down your dreams to fit into rooms that were never built for your vision. You stop apologizing for wanting more, being more, becoming more, because you realize the people who told you to wait, to tone it down, to stay in your lane, they weren't authorities. They were afraid of what might happen if you realized the truth. Blessing doesn't follow the rules of man-made systems. It doesn't wait for market trends or government policies. It flows where there is faith. It lands where there is obedience. It multiplies where there is boldness. And if you have the courage to believe, truly believe, that you were created to thrive, not survive, you will start to see the evidence in your life. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you stopped giving your power away to people who never had the authority to limit you. You are not created to beg for what is already in your possession. You're not designed to live on the edge of your calling, peeking in through the window while others feast at the table. You are not inferior. You are not second tier. You are not disqualified. And the moment you stop asking, am I allowed, and start declaring, I am assigned, you shift from waiting to walking. You move from hoping to harvesting. And that shift doesn't come from outside, it comes from within. So many people spend their lives rehearsing what they lack, listing reasons why they're not ready, waiting for a signal that never comes. But there's no contract you need to sign, no vote you need to win, no favor you need to earn. The moment you decide to stand up, speak up, and walk in it, the blessing moves with you. Because you were never meant to fit in the mold, you were meant to break it. The permission you're waiting for has already been spoken. You just have to agree with it. Speak what you want to see, not what you fear, not what you've been through, not what's currently visible to your natural eyes. Because what you say with your mouth has the power to shape what eventually shows up in your life. Most people make the mistake of only speaking what they observe. They say, I'm struggling, I'm tired, nothing's working. And while it may feel like the truth in the moment, it is not the truth of your potential. It's not the truth of your purpose. It's just a snapshot. And if you keep speaking that snapshot, you make it permanent. You reinforce a temporary condition with permanent language and then wonder why nothing changes. When you speak what you want to see, you are not lying to yourself. You are leading yourself. You are calling things that are not yet as though they already are. That's not delusion, that's faith. Faith doesn't describe the present. Faith declares the future. You don't need spiritual maturity to state the obvious. Anybody can do that. You don't need vision to complain about what's not working. Anyone with eyes and a mouth can criticize, but it takes boldness, belief, and a renewed mind to open your mouth in the middle of a mess and declare, this is not how my story ends. If you want to know what someone believes about their life, listen to how they talk when they're under pressure. Because pressure reveals programming. You will always speak from what you've been feeding your mind. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, your mouth will release worry. If your mind is saturated with defeat, your words will betray that spirit of fear. But if your inner life is grounded in vision, if your thoughts are soaked in truth, your words will carry power, clarity, and direction, even in chaos. Words are an echo of what's going on in your heart. There's a divine principle that governs this. The power of confession creates alignment. You bring your world into agreement with what you declare. If you keep saying, I'm stuck, you train your subconscious to stay in place. If you declare, I'm built for this, you shift your internal posture to match that truth. Speaking what you want to see is not magic, it's movement. You are moving your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, and your expectations into harmony with what you were created for. You begin to behave differently because you've changed what you say. The words that come out of your mouth create an atmosphere. Your environment responds to your vocabulary. Speak anxiety and confusion, and you'll feel more of it around you. Speak peace and clarity, and your mind begins to quiet. Words have vibration. They send signals to your body, your mind, your spirit, and even to the people around you. The world hears how you speak and adjusts its behavior towards you accordingly. If you sound unsure, people treat you like you don't know where you're going. But when you speak with intention, with authority, with certainty, the atmosphere begins to cooperate with your destiny. You cannot afford to keep speaking based on your feelings. Feelings are real, but they are not reliable guides for your life. If you speak from frustration, you reinforce frustration. If you speak from fear, you fertilize fear. But if you speak from truth, you build a future that is bigger than your feelings. You begin to walk in a reality that is not dictated by emotion, but led by vision. Emotions are signals, but declarations are strategies. Speak strategy, not survival. Speak progress, not pity. Speak what aligns with your assignment, not what echoes your insecurity. Speaking what you want to see also requires discipline. It's easy to let careless words slip out when you're tired, disappointed, or triggered. But every time you let your mouth go unchecked, you either plant weeds or water the wrong seeds. Speaking with intention doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means choosing language that builds the outcome you desire, regardless of how you feel in the moment. It means catching yourself when negativity tries to rise and replacing it with a word that carries life, not limitation. Many people wonder why affirmations or declarations don't work for them, but the truth is they haven't committed to consistency. You can't say something once and expect the world to rearrange itself. You must speak it until your brain believes it, your body responds to it, and your environment reflects it. You must speak it until the doubt begins to shrink. You must speak it until your behavior catches up with your belief. Speaking is not a one-time act. It's a lifestyle of conscious, creative authority over your reality. And the more you do it, the more sensitive you become to what comes out of your mouth. You begin to feel the weight of your words. You begin to sense when something you've said doesn't align with your calling. You become quicker to reverse a negative confession and replace it with a declaration of truth. You stop entertaining speech that minimizes your future. You silence the self-sabotage and instead speak seed words that produce good fruit. You take control of the script that's been playing in your mind and you rewrite it with power, purpose, and precision. Your mouth becomes your map. It guides your decisions, your expectations, your energy, and your habits. It gives direction to your days. When you speak what you want to see, you shift from being a passive participant in life to an active co-creator of your destiny. You are no longer reacting, you are initiating. You are not echoing defeat, you are announcing breakthrough. And it all begins with a word. Silence is agreement with stagnation. When you choose not to speak, not to declare, not to articulate your vision or stand in your truth, you are silently co-signing the very conditions you say you want to escape. Your silence doesn't protect you, it imprisons you. Every time you remain quiet when your spirit is telling you to speak up, you reinforce your current situation. You allow fear, doubt, and comfort to become your negotiator. You say nothing, and yet your life is still speaking because inaction is still a decision and silence is still a voice. People often think that silence is neutral, that it's safe, that it buys them time. But silence in the face of purpose is a delay tactic of the enemy. Silence when you're supposed to declare your assignment is not peace, it's paralysis. That silence becomes agreement with what's already around you, and what's around you may be small, broken, limited, and unaligned with your calling. If you don't challenge it, you choose it. And if you don't speak against it, you submit to it. Silence is not absence, it's acquiescence. There are dreams lying dormant right now, not because the dreamer lacks talent or resources, but because they refuse to give the dream a voice. They've thought about it, journaled about it, hoped for it, but they've never opened their mouth and declared it. And what you don't declare, you delay. The vision that lives in your heart but never comes out of your mouth is like a seed kept in a drawer. It has potential, but no power. Until you speak it, you haven't activated it. Until you declare it, you haven't claimed it. You cannot expect movement in your life when your mouth stays closed. You cannot expect your circumstances to shift if your confession remains silent. The world responds to sound, creation responds to voice. Faith comes by hearing, not by thinking. You must hear it and others must hear, and your environment must hear it. When you speak truth, speak purpose, speak boldly, you send shockwaves through your atmosphere. But when you remain silent, you let stagnation stay comfortable. Silence is often a symptom of fear of being wrong, fear of being rejected, fear of being seen. But that fear is the very thing that thrives in silence. You give it room to grow every time you hold back your voice. You empower the enemy every time you muzzle yourself. And the longer you wait to speak, the stronger the stronghold becomes. Silence feels safe in the moment, but it costs you authority. It costs you alignment. It costs you momentum. And nothing great is ever built in the presence of fear-filled silence. Sometimes silence doesn't just mean not speaking. It means not challenging. It means not confronting the lies you've believed. It means not correcting the language that's kept you bound. You might not say, I'm not enough. But if you never say, I am more than enough, you leave that lie unchallenged. And unchallenged lies become your default truth. When you don't speak life, death lingers. When you don't speak future, the past plays on repeat. You can't win a battle with your mouth closed. There are moments in your journey when silence is actually the most dangerous choice you can make. When you feel resistance rising, when the old patterns start pulling, when the environment starts pressing you to settle, that is the moment to speak. That is the moment to declare who you are, where you're going, and what you refuse to tolerate. If you shrink into silence in those moments, you surrender the victory before the battle even begins. You lose by default because you didn't show up with your voice. Your voice carries authority. Your voice sends a signal to your subconscious that says, this is where we're headed. Your voice is a steering wheel, a rudder, a GPS. Without it, you drift. Without it, you stay where you are, no matter how much you desire change. Desires don't move mountains. Declarations do. Passion doesn't shift paradigms. Proclamation does. Every breakthrough begins with a sound. And if you don't make that sound, you live surrounded by potential you never tap into. Some people confuse silence with humility, thinking it's noble to keep quiet. But humility is not self-erasure. True humility is alignment with truth, and truth is not silent. Truth speaks. Truth declares. Truth is bold and unapologetic. When you silence yourself in the name of humility, what you're really doing is hiding. You're letting smallness masquerade as modesty. And that kind of silence doesn't serve the world, it steals from it. Because the gift you were meant to release stays locked inside of you, collecting dust. Every moment you choose silence when you were supposed to speak, you are giving consent to the status quo. You're voting for more of the same. You're agreeing with the limitations, the mediocrity, the fear, the frustration. You may not have said it out loud, but your silence said, I accept this. And until your voice breaks that agreement, nothing changes. Declare your identity daily, not just once in a while, not just when things are going right, not only when you feel strong. Every single day you must remind your mind, your spirit, your emotions, and your environment who you are. Because if you don't tell the world who you are, the world will try to tell you. If you don't declare it with clarity, life will assign you labels based on your mistakes, your past, your circumstances, or the opinions of people who never had the authority to define you. Identity is not something you wait to discover. It's something you decide to declare. Every day you wake up, you are stepping into a battlefield of voices. Voices from your past, voices from society, voices from fear and insecurity, all trying to speak into who you are. And if you're not intentional about speaking back, you begin to believe what was never true. You start to wear labels like not enough, too late, unqualified, and forgotten. But those are not your names. Those are not your identity. Your true identity is not something external that needs validation. It's an internal truth that needs confirmation through your own declaration. You must declare your identity because repetition creates reinforcement. The more you speak it, the more it settles into your spirit. The more you declare it, the more your thoughts begin to align with it. What you consistently say to yourself becomes the lens through which you see the world. If you say, I'm powerful, eventually your decisions will reflect power. If you say, I am favored, your posture begins to change. Your faith begins to rise and your confidence begins to grow. Identity shapes action, and action shapes destiny. Most people are not stuck because they lack strategy. They're stuck because they don't know who they are. They keep asking for direction without first being rooted in identity. But when you know who you are, clarity becomes natural, decision-making becomes faster, boundaries become stronger. You stop entertaining what's beneath your calling because your identity acts as a filter. It filters out distraction. It filters out desperation. When you know who you are, you stop needing everyone else to approve it. You just walk in it. Declaring your identity daily is a spiritual discipline. It's not just positive thinking, it's prophetic alignment. You're not trying to convince yourself, you're commanding your soul to remember. Remember who you are, remember what you carry, remember what you were born to shift. Because life will try to make you forget, challenges will try to make you question, setbacks will try to make you shrink. But when you stand in front of the mirror and declare, I am chosen, I am equipped, I am necessary, you activate power that silence cannot unlock. Your identity is not up for negotiation. It's not defined by your income, your relationship status, your degree, or your mistakes. It is defined by your origin. And you were not born of random chance. You were born on purpose, for a purpose. So when you declare your identity, you're not making something up, you're calling something forth. You are pulling truth out of the depths of your spirit and putting it on display so your mind, your day, and your decisions can fall in line with it. That is not hype, that is alignment. You've been through too much to forget who you are. You've survived things that should have broken you. You've endured storms that left you shaken but not destroyed. And now that you're still standing, you don't have the luxury of playing small. You must speak to yourself in a way that honors what you've come through and what you're called to. You must speak like someone who knows they carry legacy, like someone who's been trusted with impact, like someone who has a destiny that cannot be erased by temporary pain. Declaring your identity daily creates momentum, even on days when your feelings don't match your declaration. Keep speaking. Your feelings will eventually catch up. Even on days when nothing looks like it's working, keep speaking. Because your words are seeds. And seeds don't produce overnight. But every time you say, I am called, I am more than enough, I am designed for greatness, you are planting in the soil of your life. And if you stay consistent, the harvest must come. Because identity spoken consistently cannot remain powerless. Don't wait until you feel like a leader, a winner, a visionary, or a giant. Declare it now. Speak from the truth of your design, not the fear of your delay. Because waiting to declare your identity until you see the evidence is backwards. The evidence will follow the declaration, not the other way around. Your voice is the catalyst. Your words are the trigger. You must speak it until your environment respects it. Speak it until your posture reflects it. Speak it until your decisions align with it. Speak it until your doubts can no longer argue with it. You are not what happened to you. You are not what they called you. You are not your past, your paycheck, or your problems. You are purpose in motion. You are possibility in human form. You are the answer to a problem in this generation, and until you wake up and declare that every single day, you will live beneath the level of your calling, tolerating a life you were meant to transform. Speak it boldly, speak it consistently, and watch everything around you begin to shift in response.